Hey guys, it's your boy Ars, back at it again with another video. I intended to have this done yesterday, but unfortunately, I had to re-record because the other one was way too long and got too convoluted. So I'm going to try to go through this a bit faster with this recording. Here is a disclaimer for anyone who needs it. For those that are subscribed to me, you know that I did this last version. I intended to do one more before the versions switched from 3 to 4, but I had to defend my position about Trebi and then had to further defend my position about Cyrene. The way things are looking right now, pretty confident that I ended up being correct. So we're going to try this again. Now, the biggest difference between my tier list and Pridewin's tier list is that I'm predicting where I believe characters are going to be rated by the end of version 4, not how good they are currently. Characters are rated at E0S1, except the Trailblazer, who is rated at E6S0. I'm full screening some other important differences. Pause, read this. Pause, read this. Pause, read this. With all that out the way, let's jump into the tier list. All right, let's make this snappy. We're going to start with the sustains. We're going to put Aventurine in tier 1. He's obviously still a decent sustain. He's not bad at all, but he's kind of like Luocha. Luocha in terms of abundance healers is kind of in a weird position where he's not the worst, but he's not the best either. And Aventurine is in the exact same position. There are significantly better sustains than him, so I can't recommend using your resources to get him, especially when DHPT was free. And furthermore, when he comes back out, he reruns. Unless Aventurine gets a buff, there would be no reason for you to choose Aventurine over DHPT. So I'm putting him at tier 1. There's a possibility that we'll do an adjustment if he gets buffed, but for right now, I think tier 1 is more than fair. Now for the amplifiers, we're going to start off with Sparkle. She has exceeded essentially all of my expectations. I never expected her to get buffed the way that she did. As a matter of fact, I talked about Sparkle in my second trivia video, and I basically said that unless she gets some crazy buff, she's not going to be meta relevant. And then she got a crazy buff, and now she's very meta relevant. So of all the characters that you could pick from the selector, she is definitely the highest priority from my perspective for most accounts. But I can definitely understand if someone were to pick, as an example, Kafka instead of her. But I picked her up, been using her for my free archer. With her now being free, you effectively have a full premium team that can do high level clears without you having to spend a single cent. And the devs gave all that away for free. So big ups to the devs for allowing us to finish our archer comps. Greatly appreciated. She has Vuln. She provides res pen, provides attack, provides action advance. You can slap an SI5 DDD on her. She has a lot going for her. So definitely tier 0. I can't see her being any lower even by the end of the version, but as it is with everything, we have to wait and see. Next, we're going to talk about Yao Guang. I was very clear in my community post that wasn't too ecstatic about Elation, wasn't too ecstatic about Yao Guang. To quote me, I was wholly uninterested in Yao Guang. I ended up pulling her anyway. And I'm starting to see the vision, I'm starting to understand it, and that's the reason why I pulled her. I intend to get Evanescia, and if I'm going to be using Evanescia, I'm going to need Yao Guang. I just find it very strange that people are already shitting on Elation because Yao Guang doesn't have a partner currently, based off of testing that is being done with Sparxie. People are thinking that this is just a skippable path. I do not believe that's a wise decision. It's very strange, very, very strange to me, considering the fact that one of the reasons why Cyrene got shit on was because she came out so late for Remembrance. People didn't realize what her true purpose was, which was to support Remembrance. I spent an hour explaining why she was built specifically for Remembrance. I'll link that in the description if somebody wants to go watch that. But instead of waiting until the end of the version to create a character like Yao Guang, they did it at the beginning. And people are still shitting on her. So she can't win. The developers can't win. They drop a sustain they drop a support like Cyrene late. People shit on her. They drop a great support like Yao Guang early. And people still shit on her because they don't see the vision. Yao Guang is going to be the glue for the Elation archetype. And it's kind of hard to argue otherwise. Just read her kit. Her ability to activate AHA at will, effectively, is going to be pretty goddamn important for Elation because that will trigger every single Elation skill for all the characters on your team. I don't know why people think this character isn't going to be important. Perhaps they think she's going to be a gimmick. I don't think that's the case. So I'm putting her in tier 0. I think that she is going to be a staple in effectively all Elation comps, regardless if you're going to be going into Evanescia or going into the new Silverwolf. You're probably going to want this character. Maybe I'm wrong. But like I said, as with everything, we're going to have to see. Moving on to the Sub-DPS. Ashveil. He's not... So the thing about him that's weird is that he is a better main DPS. And I'm actually just going to get this out the way now to save some time. I think that he's a better main DPS currently than he is a sub-DPS. It's expected that Feixiao is going to be rerunning, which is obviously being done because of Ashveil. But based off of the testing that I've seen, if we're talking about at E0S1, it's not as good as it could be. He's definitely not Feixiao's perfect partner. So unless they adjust his kit or adjust her kit, the synergy there is going to be somewhat questionable. There is synergy, but she burns through his stacks so fast for his follow-ups that you end up having lulls in damage because you can't get those stacks back very quickly. So unless you focus all of your effort on Ashveil and getting those stacks back, or you just cheat out his stacks with his Eidolons and vertically invest, I don't see him being the best sub-DPS for follow-up, or at least all follow-ups. He's going to be the best sub-DPS for follow-ups. He's basically like Moze on steroids. But he's not going to be the most ideal sub-DPS, if that makes any sense. To this day, the only unit that has like more consistent follow-ups is Imaginary March 7th, and they haven't really created a unit that's a 5-star variation of that. Which is unfortunate because that's what I've been waiting for effectively. I think they were going to try to go for something similar with Cypher, but they ended up nerfing her into the ground because she was too powerful. I don't know if Ashveil is going to remain at his current power level once the beta is over. If they leave him relatively the same, I'm expecting he's going to be a better sub-DPS, or sorry, a better main DPS than sub-DPS. But logically, I'm expecting them to adjust and make him a better sub-DPS than main DPS, because I don't think they meant for him to be a main DPS. So, although I have this tier 0, tier 0.5, that is my initial assessment. If I'm being honest, I'm fully anticipating that they're going to adjust him so that he is a better sub-DPS than a main DPS. That's what I'm theorizing. I could be wrong about that, but that's where I'm going to put him. Tier 0 for sub-DPS and tier 0.5 for main DPS. For Black Swan, I do not want to jump the gun and gas her up too early. So I'm going to put her in tier 0.5 for now. She has definitely gotten massively better. Very good addition to the dot comp. I severely underestimated the dot comp, and I didn't think it was going to get this good. But I'm here for it. The more comps that are available to players in the game, the more variety, the better it is for everyone. For now, I'm going to put her at tier 0.5, but we'll see if I adjust her to tier 0 down the line. Moving on to Sparxie. It's very clear that she was created with the purpose of being a punchline generator. I am expecting that she is supposed to be a punchline generator for the new Silverwolf form. There are some people, including me, who were under the impression that this was basically another Evernight situation because they very clearly adjusted Evernight's kit before she came out to be more sub-DPS oriented. But if you have a very well built Evernight, she can be a main DPS and do extremely well. Sparxie could be the exact same way. But then the question is, would Sparxie, as a main DPS, be beyond Evanescia and the new Silverwolf? I mean, based on a precedence, I would want to say that yes, she should be a better main DPS than sub-DPS. But for some reason, I feel like the developers are not going to allow that to happen this time around because they already allowed Anaxa, who was supposed to be a sub-DPS, to transcend into main DPS territory. I don't think that was their intention, but it kind of happened. And Evernight is the exact same story. So I think they're going to be more careful this time around. And sure, you'll be able to use Sparxie as a main DPS, but I think the actual main characters, or sorry, the main carries for Elation are going to be beyond her in terms of overall output. So for DPS, I'm going to put her at tier 0.5, and for sub DPS, I'm going to put her at tier 0. Kafka. Very much underestimated her and her value. The fact that you can get her for free is pretty nuts. If you are looking to finish your dot comp, you should have already picked her up without question. You would 100% want her. She is essentially a glue in the comp. They also are running Hysilens currently. So if you already had Hysilens or you wanted to even just start a dot comp, why is this popping up on my screen? But if you have Hysilens and you wanted to run a dot comp, you would pick up this Kafka. If you want to start a dot comp, this would be one of the best times to do it because you can get Kafka for free, then you get Hysilens. It's a pretty easy win there. And then also, if you've been playing since version 3, you can pick up a free E1 Ron May as well and run that. Or you can decide to grab Black Swan at some point as well. So yeah, it's a good time to be a dot main. It seems to be doing well even outside of shilling. So I'm impressed. Well beyond my expectations. I was wrong about this. I was wrong about the strength of this path. I thought that it was going to get a boost, then fall off like it always has. And I was 100% wrong. That's my bad. So Definitely expecting her to be tier 0 unless something happens to Dot that kneecaps it and forces it to fall off again. But if nothing like that occurs, I'm expecting Dot to remain tier 0 for pretty much the entirety of this version. Moving on to Evernight. Not even a question. She is easily one of the best DPSs in the game, top 2 bare minimum. Utterly broken. I recently got her E1, which has made her even more broken. If you get her E2, you've basically set yourself up for life. You're just good. You get her with Cyrene, and that is basically just a devastating duo that can clear all endgame at the highest level with virtually no difficulty. And I mean, you don't even need Hysilens. Hysilens is not even relevant. I've been using Evernight with Cyrene, Remembrance Trailblazer, and Rame, and that team is strong. I proved it. The Carfax are on my channel. You can check out the runs if you would like to look at it. But yeah, just super powerful. There's not a lot more that I can say about her that anyone else hasn't already said. She is amazing. If you are looking to go into Remembrance, if it's something you're interested in, you should definitely pick her up, and then also pick up Cyrene. I know that everyone's talked about Hysilens and her value, but to be completely honest, even though Hysilens makes Remembrance much better, based off of the runs that I've seen and off the testing that I've done, it's not a 100% requirement that you need her. As long as you have DHPT and Remembrance Trailblazer, yes, you can run those 4 together, and it is a functioning comp. Not the highest level, but it is definitely fully functioning. So that's my perspective. Double tier 0. There is legitimately no shot that this character falls off anytime soon. So I'm expecting them to be tier 0 by the end of the version. Moving on to the remainder of the DPS. Jing Yuan is trash. There's not a lot that I can really say about him. I've owned him for over 900 days, and he has gotten some shine here and there, but he has not been consistently good for a very, very long time. Nobody should be wasting their resources on him. I'm lucky I didn't waste any more resources than I already have. I have him at E0 as 0. He's just not in a good position. He needs to have a direct buff applied to him. He needs a Nova Flare. There's no other way to get him to be good at this point. So hopefully developers work on that at some point. But for now, tier 3. For DHIL, he only really starts getting valuable at E2, and even then, he's still not that great. Even with the sparkle buffs, he's still not that great. He's not meta. So without the E2, he is in a very, very poor position. So I was considering getting him, but pulling him without having him at E2 and without having a high invested sparkle is effectively a waste of resources. They need to buff him directly before I can even come close to recommending this character to anybody. I'm putting him at tier 2, and that's where I'm expecting him to be by the end of the version. For Jingliu, love Jingliu, but I overestimated her in my last tier list. I was expecting her to be much further up due to the existence of Hysilens and the existence of Tribi, but it didn't work out. It is what it is. It's unfortunate, but even with the Nova Flare, she is still not meta relevant. She can do very well in currency wars, but outside of that, not really. So I think tier 2 is more than fair. Boothill, It's expected that he is going to be rerunning. Definitely a solid DPS, but I can't put him in. Can't really put him inside of the tier 0 category. Firefly, even though I hate her, is significantly better than him at this time, and she is expected to get buffed, which is going to put him in an even worse position. So I wish that I could say more about him. That's positive. Obviously, if you invest well into him, he will pop off, but whether or not that's worth it when we know that there are anniversary units around the corner, it's pretty debatable whether or not you would want to pull him over getting someone who is guaranteed to be good like Firefly or the anniversary units. So I'm not going to trash him. He's definitely a good unit, but he is nowhere close to being the best hunt, and he's not the best break either. So I think tier 1 is more than fair as a possibility that we may have to adjust him to tier 1.5 if he gets no buffs in this version. Even with Dahlia's existence, wasn't really made for him, unfortunately. It was very clearly made for Firefly. So I think tier 1 is fair. Hopefully I don't have to adjust him down, but tier 1 is where I'm going to put him for now. Acheron. She can still do very well, but there's always a but. She has seen a bit of a drop off in terms of power and meta relevance. I still use her to this day. I still think that she is strong, but she is in need of either a direct buff herself or her supports need a buff. It's one or the other. And because one of her best partners, Yao Guang, is in a pretty shit situation, the only other characters that she can rely on consistently is Silverwolf, who is a great unit, but not, I wouldn't say necessarily the best unit for her, for Acheron. Then we have Cypher, who does well because of her uptime, but unless you have a high invested Cypher, you can't really force Acheron over the edge. So essentially, unless you have a high invested Acheron plus a high invested Silverwolf or Yao Guang or Cypher, there will be no reason for you to use your resources on her, because you could spend those same resources on characters that are much better, will have much better longevity, and therefore I can't highly recommend her. And I'm saying this as somebody who has a top 5% Acheron. I love my Acheron, I still use my Acheron, but she definitely is in need of some buffs, or her supports need some buffs. One or the other. So I'm putting her at tier 1. Maybe she'll be able to make a resurgence later on and they drop another support for her. People are assuming that it's going to be Nihilux, that she's going to be a Nihility unit that's going to revive Acheron. I don't know. That could be a crazy reach, or maybe that's actually true. But I would need to hear more information first before I make the determination. So for now, I'm putting her at tier 1. Feixiao is the other unit that's expected to rerun with Boothill, which is obviously because of Ashveil. At this time, I can't recommend you pull her either. And I had her in Trailblazer tier in my last tier list, but with the existence of Ashveil, you would be legitimately better just running Ashveil as a main DPS, unless they do some crazy adjustments to his kit, than running Feixiao. I love Feixiao. I still use Feixiao, but I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, she's still the GOAT hunt unit when I know that another hunt unit is coming out that's going to be better than her. Back then, 100%, one of the best low-cost clearing units in the entire game, the best hunt unit in the entire game. It was not close, and she dominated for pretty much an entire year. Then Evernight came out. Now Evernight is the GOAT of low-cost clears, pretty much. And now, if they make very few adjustments to Ashveil, he is going to be even greater in terms of cost abuse. So that was her last remaining strength, was abusing the cost system to be able to do low cost clears. But without that, and there not being the most ideal synergy between Ashveil and Feixiao, I have to put her in tier 1. I hope that I'm wrong and that I can move her up. But for right now, I'm putting her in tier 1. Archer, putting him in tier 0.5. Fully aware that people are going to say, right now, he's super strong. I know that. If I were talking about right now, his strength right now, he's tier 0. But again, we're talking about where these characters are going to be at the end of the version. I do not think that he is going to be tier 0 throughout the entirety of this version. He's nice. He's not that nice. We haven't even seen the anniversary characters yet. And Ashveil, objectively, looks like he's going to be stronger than Archer. Could be wrong, but that's the way that it looks right now. So, putting him at tier 0.5, maybe he surpasses my expectations. If he does, I have no problem adjusting his position and putting him in tier 0. That's where I'm putting him for right now. He stays in tier 0.5. Next, we got Saber. Well, I still use Saber. She's very, very powerful, but right now her issue is that all of her best teammates are from version 2, and she is in a dire need of an upgrade. We have Sunday, but Sunday just recently got power crept by this new Sparkle. We got Robin, but compared to the other amplifiers that exist in the game, she is starting to lose even more relevancy. Even though she still has that 100% action advance, and that's insane, maintaining the uptime on her ult remains a consistent issue for Robin. And then lastly, we have Ho-Ho, who is currently not doing too hot. Ho-Ho is expected to be buffed, which is fine. But then the question is, if you're going to be running an elation team, how is Saber going to take advantage of Ho-Ho if Ho-Ho is needed by the new elation battleships? Bit of a problem. So you would be more likely to use her with DHPT. It's still strong, but unless they buff Robin and buff Sunday, it's very hard to make the case for her to be tier 0. I still love using her. She's still a great character to play, but until they buff her supports, I can't say that she's tier 0, and I definitely can't say that she's going to be tier 0 by the end of the version. So I think tier 0.5 is more than fair. So that's where I'm going to leave her. Next, Hysilens. Pretty clear tier 0 positioning. She has been doing consistently well ever since she came out, and has only gotten better with the buff of effectively every single one of her best teammates, along with having access to Cyrene, who's the best amplifier in the game. She's just nuts, and she has a lot of variety and a lot of different team comps that she can pick from. So pretty easy tier 0. I don't expect that to change, again, unless they kneecap the dot archetype. All right, so we're just gonna get the last two out the way at the same time. We have Silverwolf and Evanescia. They're both expected to be Elation main DPSs with their own separate team comps. Hypothetically, you could pull both and have two completely different teams for them and run them at the same time. So for Silverwolf, it would be her plus Sparxie plus Sparkle and a sustain. For Evanescia, it would be her plus the Elation Trailblazer and then Yao Guang. For the sustain, allegedly, it's going to be the buff Huo as being a best in slot for both. Whether or not that's accurate is up for debate, specifically because when you're dealing with someone like the new Silverwolf, who, if we're basing it off of precedence, she wouldn't have an energy bar, so why would she need Huo on the team? I think that Huo would probably make more sense to be on Evanescia's team, but we'll have to wait and see. Silverwolf is expected to get her energy from punchline stacks, which is a reason why you would need Sparxie for that. And most likely she would do a sizable amount of damage the more of those punchline stacks that you can generate, which is the reason why Sparkle will be necessary so that Sparxie can continually spam her skill, build up punchline, which would be used to funnel into the new Silverwolf. I could be wrong about that. It's just a theory. This is hypothetical. For Evanescia, if I'm basing her playstyle on precedence from Honkai Impact 3rd, Evanescia is a XP of Yae Sakura from Honkai Impact 3rd, and all of Yae Sakura's variations in that game are basically high burst DPS. In that case, it's a possibility that Evanescia is going to be a sort of burst you down sort of character, which is going to require you to burn through ults very rapidly and get as much energy as possible, which is the reason why Haha would be required. But with Silverwolf, it would basically be a more steady wins the race sort of character, which is basically what Cyrene and the main Remembrance battleship is, whereas it doesn't really start super strong. You have to build up towards it and then it becomes really, really strong. So I think that's basically the idea here. I'm expecting that this Elation battleship for Silverwolf is going to be similar to the Remembrance battleship that we currently have, which is Casterus plus Evernight plus Cyrene plus Hysilens, and then the other battleship is going to be a high bursting, right off the bat, we're trying to destroy everything sort of team. That's my expectation. I could be wrong, but regardless, I think that both teams are going to be very powerful, and it's definitely extremely interesting that you can, like I said, hypothetically have two Elation battleships on your account, and both of them have high levels of functionality. So that'll be interesting to see if that does come to pass, but we have to wait and see. So these are my ratings. Going to move on to pool recommendations. Now, all pool recommendations are based off of my experience and perspective as a free-to-play player. Pool value is also considered using a character's rating from the previous list. This tier list includes their Eidolon value up to E2 max. So I'm going to full screen this. Pause, take a look at this as well. Let's jump through this. For Aventurine, definitely low account value. Like I said, there are significantly better sustains than him. He's in a very Luocha sort of scenario where he's not the worst, but he's not the best. And it kind of sucks to be in that middle ground. So low AV there. For amplifiers, If you're going to be going into the Elation comp, then I would say that Yao Guang is a must pull. If you don't care about Elation, then it becomes a, well, it should be just a skip. So it's pretty much, it's very dependent on how you view Elation and its potential, what you theorize. I theorize that the Elation path is going to be extremely strong, and I think that a lot of people are underestimating it. So I'm going to put it as a must pull for those that are interested in the Elation path. She is going to be the glue of the archetype. But obviously, if you don't believe in Elation and you don't care about Elation, then just skip her. Sparkle is an obvious should pull, high priority. Not a lot of reasons why you should not pick her up. If, like, essentially, if you're not going into dot, you should have grabbed Sparkle. That's it. It really is that simple. Kafka is definitely a should pull. I'm going to say Black Swan is a comfort pull. Might be able to adjust her up to being a should pull, depending on how well she ages throughout this version, which I'm expecting to be well. But for right now, I think that Kafka is definitely higher priority than Black Swan. So if you are interested in going into the dot path, then you would want to pick up Kafka for sure. Ashveil, should pull. Evernight, should pull. Sparxie, assuming you're going into Elation and you're specifically interested in getting the new Silverwolf, you're going to need this Sparxie. Just going to put Evernight here as well for should pull. Jing Yuan, Jingliu, and DHIL are all skips. Not worth pulling in the slightest right now. They all either need to be buffed, in which case Jingliu will need to get buffed again, and or their supports would need to be buffed. Archer, I would say, is a comfort pull. I think that the new units that are coming out for the Elation battleships are of higher value, so not saying he's bad. I know that he's strong right now. I literally use him at a high level. I 3-starred the last night with him, sustainless in Anomaly Arbitration. You don't need to tell me. I get it. I'm still putting him in comfort pool. Same thing with Saber. Acheron is going to be low AV. Feixiao is going to be low AV. We'll put Boothill as a comfort pool. Sparxie, I still think is viable as a main DPS, but simultaneously, I would not pull her with the sole purpose of making her a main DPS, so I'm actually going to slot her down to comfort pool. Same thing for Ashveil, effectively. Again, this is assuming they change him to be more sub-DPS oriented, but if they decide that they're going to just pull an Evernight and pull in an Axa, this is going to age very poorly. So it depends on what the developers do. I'm predicting they're going to hit him rather significantly because I can't see why they would allow this character to be this powerful, then try to sell their Elation battleship when this character is significantly less restrictive. and can be run at much lower cost than the Elation battleships that they're going to try to push. So if they don't nerf his main DPS capabilities, I'd be very, very surprised. It just wouldn't make sense to me. So I'm assuming they're going to nerf his main DPS capabilities and buff his sub-DPS capabilities. So should pull as a sub-DPS, comfort pull as a main DPS. And last but not least, Evanescia and Hysilens. I'm going to full screen this. I'm also going to put this in my community post. I think that this is pretty fair. I'll obviously make this much better quality as well when I upload it. Okay, so I lied. I completely forgot to put Silverwolf into a account value tier. So putting her in should pull, if it wasn't obvious already. Whether or not you pull for her or Evanescia is completely dependent on what playstyle you're interested in, which we don't have a confirmation of at this time. So this might change. Maybe she gets shifted down. Maybe Evanescia gets shifted down. But for right now, it seems like both are going to be very powerful Elation carries. So that's where they're going to go. And here we are for the tier list. Like I said, I think this is pretty fair. We're most likely going to have to make some adjustments down the line as well. But we are going to get there when we get there. It really always depends on what supports are going to be coming out down the line and what adjustments are made throughout betas. So I can give my theories as to where I think these characters are going to be, but the developers can always just throw me for a loop and do something that is completely against my expectations. It's not the first time they've done that, and it won't be the last time. But that's all for me. Your boy Scrub Hero R's is out.
Hidden my strength beside my grief and sorrow. Keeping the light on in the dark place was a pain. Been trying to be the best, it's been a war within. Losing, but I felt like I was born to win. I was born to win, I was born to be great. The sun may never shine upon the hero.